When will the Big Four sign? Insiders answer lingering hot stove questions. So the first question, do you think any of the Big Four free agents, which include Bellinger, Chapman, Montgomery, and Snell, do you think they will sign by next Thursday? Which one seems most likely to do so? Both of them mentioned Jordan Montgomery. All right, fine son, he pretty much connected the Rangers. And we've been seeing a lot of reports about the Rangers, and I've been talking about them ad nauseum now, where they've been doing the one-year deals, 2-year for Tyler Mahle. You've heard me say that a million times. Nothing new. And they've had the TV stuff. I've also said that a million times. So, listen, actions speak louder than words to me, and when you got the TV thing, which MLB.com, or not MLB.com, but Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred, they actually talked a little bit about there could be a new streaming option in 2025. So that's something pretty exciting in my opinion. And I think if they came out with their own streaming option where they're not connected to these networks where they simply broadcasted the games, I think that could solve a lot of the blackout issues, right? Because, when it comes to the TV networks, if you're in the wrong spot, you might not even be able to watch your favorite team depending on where you're located. It was just kind of just so silly to me. And I wonder at one point if Major League Baseball ends up bringing most of the teams in, besides like the big market teams like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Mets, right? Where they have their big networks, where like these smaller networks, cable is not going to a good place at this point unless you're just like a big network. Like the Blue Jays would also be like their own network as well. But those big ones, they're doing well financially, whereas these smaller ones, not so much, right? And the Rangers are in that group. And you got to think with the Texas Rangers, they have had, a lot of big signings over the last few years. Started with Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Jacob deGrom last year. And so now with Jordan Montgomery, yes, won a World Series would absolutely fit. But, I mean, the dollar is a dollar at the end of the day. And if you don't got the dollar, then, or if you don't know you're going to have the dollar down the road, then it might not make the most sense to invest in a guy that you might really want to bring back. But at the end of the day, you got to look out for the long-term, future of your franchise, right? So if you're the Rangers, you don't want to shoot yourselves in the foot, because I would think the more sensible financial option for the Rangers after making all these big contract signings over the last few years, maybe wait it out and see what happens, and then you can address the adding some players and what you have to work with. It's like you're kind of playing with fire at that point. If you just go ahead and sign Jordan Montgomery and hope for the best, and I don't know, to me, I mean, what do I know? I'm not a business owner by any means, but I would think, I don't know, that's like me going out and buying a car thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to get this new job and I'll be good to go, right? And then I go buy the car, I pull it into the driveway, and all of a sudden that company calls me and says, hey, you know what? We're going to go in a different direction. Hey, you know what? I'm sorry, but hey, what? Things have happened, found another option, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you don't got that job anymore to help you pay for that car. And you bought the car based off of what kind of money you were going to be making, right? So now you're screwed. That's kind of the Rangers, right? You don't want to really do that. So, again, getting back to the 1-year deals, the 2-year for Mahle, that seems to be in line with kind of what's going on with their situation. I've seen some people out there say, oh, well, they're just making these cheaper signings just so they can, make room for Jordan Montgomery. I've seen that out there too. And no, I don't think that's really it, because I think if you really wanted Montgomery, you would have already gotten it done because he would like to go there. And yeah, I know Boris is the agent, but Boris doesn't drag everyone out to free agency. If a guy wants to sign, a guy wants to sign. And Montgomery wanted to go back to Texas, but if that's not in the cards, you got to look elsewhere. And that's why other teams out there, like the Red Sox, who I'll get to in a little bit, are waiting it out. All right, so Mark Feinsand, he keeps suggesting that the Rangers and him are destined for a reunion. I don't know where Mark Feinsand's even getting that idea from. I feel like he's been really cold with stuff. Is that just me? No disrespect to Feinsand out there, but I feel like he's not been hitting a lot this offseason. There was that whole thing where Shota Imanaga, he said that all signs were pointing to the Giants, and then all of a sudden he's not on the Giants, and he's going to the Cubs. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like Feinsand just has been really missing a lot lately. That could be just me, but I don't know. I guess I feel like the writing is on the wall. Maybe we get surprised, and maybe something comes up and they figure it out for Montgomery. Hey, never say never. I'm always in that thought. But then Morosi, he also goes on to say the Rangers as well. The Rangers are the favorites to sign him. I wish they would just give a why, right? Kind of just give a little bit more clarity. Why do you think they're the favorites? Is it just because he won a World Series, or are they is there a financial thing that's involved with that? That's what I want these guys to do. They're the kings of speculation. They know how to do this so well, and that's why so many people out there, they click on their articles and they go watch their MLB Network streams, which, oh my goodness, MLB Network, if someone is watching out there, please take off the freaking music when Jon Morosi is talking. I'm going to lose my mind. I don't know what it is. I'm so focused on that now, and it's like the music is so loud when he's talking. Sorry, if I sound like a grumpy grandpa, I apologize. But what was I saying? I just rambled on. Anyway, he says the Rangers are the favorites. Okay, I wish there was a little bit more clarity behind that statement. But he goes on to say, I wonder if the Red Sox, which, again, speculation, wonder if the Red Sox could make a late push by clearing salary with a Kenley Jansen trade. So this is where it gets a little interesting, right? Because, again, I've said this before. What are the other teams out there? Unless another team steps up like the Phillies or the Cubs. I will also point this out too. Remember, for those of you that were with me last week, I believe I said this last week. Remember when I brought up the Astros? Remember that? Hold on a second. I need to go pull this up. I completely forgot to pull this up. Astros. Hold on a second. I swear this was hilarious when I saw this. Hold on a second. Where's the article? I need it. Aha. Here it is. This came out today. Look at this, everyone. The Astros are still hoping to add to the pitching staff. Don't even come at me and say, right, you never said the Astros. Yes, I did. I said last week. I wonder if the Astros could just come out of nowhere and just all of a sudden make a run at him. If it was like a short kind of a deal, right? Their CBT, they've already broken through that, right? So their payroll is already pretty high. But he goes on to say, where Dana Brown, the general manager, he says, hey, where can we find pitching? Where can we make it better? I think our rotation's good enough to get back to the World Series right now, but I'm always looking to improve pitching because I know how guys get hurt during the course of the year. So I find that interesting, right? And then he also went on to say here, but the pitching, if we get a starter, we could put one of the starters in the pen. That would solve that problem, right? Because he said we may be able to use one more there after saying, I think our bullpen is pretty solid. I'm telling you, man, I don't know why. I just think, all right, Jordan Montgomery, he liked his time with the Rangers. And, hey, from the Astros' point of view, if you can't beat him, sign him, right? I don't know. I don't know if it's realistic. Maybe they go after a smaller piece, like a lower-cost option like Michael Lorenzen, possibly something like that. That seems a bit more realistic based off of how high the Astros' payroll already is. But, hey, if they really wanted to make another splat, who saw Josh Hader going to the Astros? Who saw that? No one did. Not one. right? Until like the day before when all of a sudden like it was reported that the Astros were talking to Hader. All right, so who knows? Maybe that could happen with Montgomery. You never know. But getting back to this, now, this is interesting. And to me, I will stick with the fact, and I'm not trying to be a homer for my Red Sox, but it checks off a lot of boxes. I don't know how many times I have to say that. I know it's probably getting annoying at this point. It's kind of annoying me having to keep repeating it. But at the end of the day, they just still seem like the most realistic option. The only thing holding them back is whether or not they want to spend the money. Right? That's it, because everything else checks off the boxes. They need pitching, they have payroll, like they can do it. Right? So this kind of leads into the next story a little bit. There's been some talk of Kenley Jansen. Right? This was kind of popping up today because this is what Morosi just said here too. I wonder if the Red Sox can make a late push by clearing salary with a Kenley Jansen trade. And remember a long time ago, back, over a month ago, right? The Red Sox had told a free agent that they couldn't pursue him aggressively until they moved some salary. Could that player have been Jordan Montgomery? And I've been told from the very beginning, there is mutual interest between the two. The Red Sox like Montgomery. Remember, they were the first ones to go visit that guy. Right? Remember Justin Turner? He signed with the Blue Jays. Turner said the same thing about the Blue Jays, right? They were one of the first teams to come and talk to me. The Red Sox are one of the first teams to go and talk to Jordan Montgomery. So they like him. Jordan Montgomery also likes the Red Sox. His wife is in Boston. So I wonder if these two are maybe connecting a little bit. And we had a little something here on Kenley Jansen today. Let's
Kenley Jansen, longest or the man that has the most saves in Dodger history is being...
Sorry, this is David Wasay. Did I pronounce that right? Dodger Talk. The Dodger Talk podcast. I believe he's on a radio station as well. But David Wasay, I'm probably botching that. I apologize if I do. But he's talking about Kenley Jansen.
Kenley Jansen, longest... or the man that has the most saves in Dodger history is being shopped by the Boston Red Sox. You know that if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, but now there's been another team identified as a possible trade partner with the Boston Red Sox, and that is the Philadelphia Phillies, who are in need of a closer. And my understanding is it is between the Dodgers and Phillies, and the Red Sox pitchers and catchers report to Florida next Monday. And if Kenley Jansen is going to be traded, it's going to be before Monday. If he's not traded by then, I don't see him being traded until the trade deadline. So it feels like Kenley Jansen trade rumors are very alive, and I would not rule out a trade to the Dodgers at this point in time.
Okay, so he mentioned in there the Phillies and the Dodgers, right? Both teams make sense. You could argue that the Dodgers, they could add something for the closer role, right? And then your bullpen is looking pretty good at that point, right? And the Phillies also make some sense because while they do have really good arms in that bullpen, they don't really have a solidified closer, right? And we'll talk about the Phillies a little bit later too. But Robert Murray also said this today. I don't know if he was doing a stream today or where this came from exactly, or if it was from an article. But I guess he was saying he was skeptical of the Dodgers trading for Kenley Jansen, but the Phillies make a lot of sense. He also notes that other teams have poked around on Jansen. I was told a little while ago on a couple of different occasions, the Royals were involved, the Dodgers. I'd even heard some weird teams like the Brewers and like the Marlins, which I wonder if those two teams, if the only reasons they came up were maybe like 3-team trade scenarios. That's the only way I could see those, right? I'll talk about the Marlins a little bit later as well. But remember with Robert Murray, okay, this guy, he went on a stream, what was it, like a couple of weeks ago, and him and his co-host or whatever, I don't know the name, someone in the chat asked him, hey, have you heard anything on the Pirates? And the host and Rob just started like laughing, and then Rob just said, no, the Pirates aren't doing anything, or something like that. And then literally like 3 hours later, the Pirates signed Aroldis Chapman. So take what you know. Robert Murray has said some stuff before, but with a lot of these guys, you got to kind of, I don't know. You always got to proceed with caution a little bit, unless it's Jeff Passan, right? So I'm just saying. But I don't know. I'm saying that he's skeptical of the Dodgers. I would actually think the Dodgers would have a better chance at landing Jansen because they have more prospects to deal, right? They have much more variety. And here's the thing with Kenley Jansen. It's not going to cost really a lot to get him. He's currently a bit of an underwater contract. He did miss some time at different points last year. And overall, he got paid $16 million, and he was only worth $8 million based off of his field value. So his projected number for this coming year, it's somewhere around like 13 to 14 million for his field value for this coming year. And he's getting paid 16 million. So right now you're looking at around like negative 2 million for his trade value, right? So again, the way you figure that out is you take the value that they put on the field, what they're contributing based off of what they do and their position, their stats, and whatever. You mix in age, stuff like that. And then you subtract their salary from it, and whatever that number is, that's the value. So let's say the Phillies, right? I think the Phillies honestly make a lot of sense because they're in win now mode. You don't got Kimbrel anymore. And hey, that bullpen kind of faltered. Yes, I know the offense went a little cold at times, right, during that championship series against the Diamondbacks. So yeah, sure, you could definitely address, maybe getting another bat possibly. But you got so many bats in that lineup. But the one area, if you really wanted something steady, you could do Kenley Jansen in the closer role. All right, Jose Alvarado is really good. I do like me some Alvarado, but not really like a solidified closer. Jansen would kind of erase those question marks. Unless someone stepped up in that role for the Phillies, Jansen would be the clear-cut closer on that team. So one option I came up with, and again, kind of addressing the trade value here, like I said, Kenley Jansen, you're looking in around a little bit in the negatives, right? Because he only has 1 year of control, and he's getting paid $16 million, right? He's projected to be worth $14 million roughly. So subtract the $16 million from the 14, and then you get -2. So throw in a little bit of cash. Red Sox cover about $4 million of it. The Phillies only have to pay $12. And then maybe the Phillies could send back a pitcher in Griff McGarry, right? Griff McGarry, as of right now, he has lost some value with the Phillies. He's had a lot of control issues, so he has dropped to number 11 on the Baseball America rankings. So maybe the Red Sox, he has pretty good stuff, has good velocity. You could take back a piece with Griff McGarry. The one thing with him, if he doesn't turn into a starter, he could still be a really good reliever, right? So that's kind of the way I sort of look at this. So, someone in that 10 to 20 range I could see, right? Maybe someone like an Alex McFarland who's dropped to number 17, maybe someone like Christian McGowan. Like a lower level prospect, like someone that doesn't even have to be in the top 10. I'm going to upset Phillies fans with this one. I know I'm going to, but it's a dream, okay? A man can dream. Let the little boy in me dream of this happening. But can we please just do a trade with Orion Kerkering? Ryan Kerkering, sorry. My goodness, if we somehow got him, oh man. I would be ecstatic. I couldn't even tell you how happy I would be if we somehow got him. We won't. We definitely won't. It's not going to happen, but just let a little boy dream, okay? I'm just saying. This guy's numbers were just filthy in the minor leagues last year. The Phillies would be stupid to trade Orion Kerkering, man. So that's why I think someone like Griff McGarry, I think someone is more realistic, in my opinion. Someone that's lost some value, right? He's had some ups and downs. If you take a look at Double-A last year, had good strikeout numbers, but the walks were so high, 6 walks per 9, right? But still had overall pretty good numbers. So, but if you look at the walk rate all throughout the minor leagues, like 5 here, 4 per 9 here, 4 per 9 there, 5 per 9 there, right? So I think someone like him could be realistic. We'll have to see. Now, if you're to look at the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers, they have a couple of pieces. Let's take a look here. Where are the Dodgers? So, you got some pieces, maybe like a Nick Frasso. I don't know about him. He's a top 100 prospect. Like Maddox Bruns. I don't know. Like maybe one of those guys. Maybe you could do some kind of a deal with like Michael Grove, right? Something like that. Like maybe you'd have to give a little bit more money there. I don't know. But the Dodgers do have some pitchers. I do wonder, though, and this is kind of where I get back to Robert Murray's statement saying he's skeptical of the Dodgers. I wouldn't say I'm skeptical of the Dodgers. I just wonder if the Phillies might be a bit of a better fit as a trade partner, because the pieces the Dodgers have are really good. And at the end of the day, you could say what you will about Kenley Jansen. He's going to go down as one of the best closers of all time. But value is value at the end of the day. Baseball economics is baseball economics at the end of the day. And Kenley Jansen, his value is what his value is, right? And just because it's Kenley Jansen, right, the name sounds good. You got to look at what he's delivering on the field. And yes, people will use the argument, oh, he's a top-notch closer. Yeah, I know, but it's more, right, like you got to factor in the age and how the performance has been fully when you're looking at everything, not just the saves, right? Looking at ERA, obviously, the FIP, right? Stuff like that. Some of his stuff seems like it's improved a little bit over the last couple of years. Either way, I'm just saying Kenley Jansen's not going to be worth like a top prospect, right? He could be worth like a decent mid-level prospect, right? Maybe a couple. So I wouldn't expect a big one. Now, what was also a little interesting with this, right? John Heyman also talked about this as well in an article for the New York Post, right? He also reiterated that the Red Sox are fielding offers for Kenley Jansen, and they have a deep stash of outfield prospects, which has teams asking about Jarren Duran. He goes on to say, the Padres, seeking a lefty-hitting outfielder, are interested. Very interesting. What did Bowden just say about Montgomery? Hold on, I'm seeing someone in the chat saying something about Jim Bowden. What the heck is Jim Bowden saying? Please tell me this was good. I'm stopping the show. This better be good. What is Jim Bowden saying? The Orioles have traded for Burns. Is this guy... What? The Astros have signed... Now the Rangers are trying to bring back Montgomery, but the competition is making it difficult. If the Rangers want to repeat, it's time. If the Rangers want to repeat, it's time. Gore them. He misspelled that. It's time for them to step up or lose him. Is this... Jim... Where have you been? Where has Jim Bowden been? Did he go into a coma over the last week? Why is he just tweeting all this? Oh, my goodness. My goodness. Ethan's Tech World. Why do I have so many tabs open? Because we have a lot of things to talk about, my friend. Anyway, back to the story. The Padres, seeking a lefty-hitting outfielder, are interested in Jarren Duran. Now, when I was kind of thinking about this today... I was kind of thinking well, what do the Padres really have to send for Jarren Duran? I don't know. They don't really have anything major league ready that would make a whole lot of sense. Now, talking about Jarren Duran here for a second, and I'm so sick and tired of these lazy takes out there of Jarren Duran is not that good. I mean, give me a break. And this isn't even, Red Sox bias here. This guy had a breakout year last year. He hit 295, a 346 on base, a 482 slugging, a 120 WRC plus. Sure, there's not a whole lot of power, but the guy is incredibly fast. He's one of the best base runners in the game. 24 stolen bases last year. He did miss some time. He had to get surgery on his foot. And another thing with him is the center field defense. While his speed isn't very good, he's not very good with his route running. So more projectable for left field, right? Where he's not having to worry about so much out in center field. Probably more of a left fielder, right? So I'm just tired of these lazy takes that Jarren Duran is like, he's only had one good year. It's like, he's 27 years old. And that grinds my gears so much when I see someone say that, saying, he's already 27 years old. That's pretty young if you ask me. You're acting like he's 40 years old. Like he's like about to retire. He's already 27. What is he retiring? He's going into his prime. 27. Yeah, that's according to my watch. Hello, that's prime years right there, right? He's under 5 years of control. Jarren Duran's a good piece to get, especially if you're looking for a pretty good left fielder, right? And I think this guy is going to be very, very productive over the next few years. And also, he's from California, so he has that connection there as well. I'm sure he would be happy to go to the Padres, to be honest with you. So, but again, getting back to the trade itself, I didn't really see, like, how do the Padres really line up for Jarren Duran? I don't know. Not really when it comes to sending back major league pieces. Now, one thought I had was if you did a trade with just Jarren Duran and going to the Padres and the Red Sox are the only other team involved, well, then I would imagine you're simply just trading Duran probably for some prospects at this point, right? You're just looking to maybe fill up maybe the minor leagues a little bit more, right? I've seen some people out there saying, oh, maybe we could do like Robbie Snelling, maybe Dylan Lesko, maybe Drew Thorpe. The Padres are not trading Drew Thorpe. They just got him back in the Juan Soto trade. Like, why would they do that? Why would they trade Drew Thorpe? No. I also thought maybe Ha-Seong Kim, and then it got away from me that they're doing the Korea series with the Dodgers soon. So I'm like, you can't really trade Ha-Seong Kim at that point. But he's also a good contract, right? He's going to give you a lot of value, and he doesn't really cost a whole lot. And I've been on the record saying I don't see the Padres really trading Ha-Seong Kim. Maybe they could, but I don't know. So maybe you could do some kind of a deal with like, I don't know. I don't see the Padres trading Robbie Snelling. I don't know, man. That one, I don't know about that because he is already in the top 40 on the top 100. I don't know, man. As their top pitching prospect, I have a hard time seeing that. Maybe Dylan Lesko, right? He got Tommy John. He came back last year. Stuff looked pretty good, right? Of course, there was some rust, so he wasn't exactly at his best. So maybe Dylan Lesko. I don't think Thorpe is going anywhere because, again, you just got him. And they really wanted him in the Juan Soto trade. I don't see them moving him. I would actually argue Drew Thorpe could be higher on this list, not 85. So maybe you could do something like Dylan Lesko. I'm not quite sure about that, even still. So maybe you could do like a few of the lower level ones, maybe like Jairo Iriarte. He has decent value. He was okay last year. Maybe Savala, an outfield prospect that you could send back. Maybe Dylan Head. Got Adam Mazur, who was decent last year. So they got some other pieces that you could do. So you'd probably be thinking, why would the Red Sox trade Jarren Duran for prospects if they still want to be competitive next year? Well, the only reason I could see that is because the Red Sox, they are pretty lefty, a little lefty heavy. A little bit, especially near the top, right? Where if you did Jarren Duran, if you moved him, you could move Yoshida to the leadoff spot. You could still have Devers in the 2 spot. Story, you could maybe have him bat third, or they bring in another bat, right? So it just kind of eliminates a lefty, and it creates a little bit more flexibility there because they already have so many outfielders on the Major League roster. So that's kind of where I'm getting at, right? It creates more flexibility by moving Duran, and it can also help fill up the farm a little bit more, right? So, but then again, I don't know. That sounds weird to me. So let's get a little bit more creative. The idea that I have for Jarren Duran, if the Padres were to get him, would to involve a third team that could get the Red Sox a starting pitcher, right? A young, cost-controlled starting pitcher. Because that's what the Red Sox need. They obviously need some pitching. Their pitching was terrible last year. So the idea I came up with was maybe Jesus Luzardo, send him to the Red Sox with a bad contract in Aviseo Garcia. You would essentially swap out Garcia with Kenley Jansen. Garcia could be a right-handed bat that could hit against lefties, and he can play some outfield. So, I mean, he hasn't been great for the last couple of years, but whatever. Take him back, but you get Jesus Luzardo. That gives the Marlins some salary relief. Jarren Duran goes to the Padres and to the Marlins. Maybe you could send Dylan Lesko to the Marlins, obviously one of the top pitching prospects in the game. The Marlins are losing Jesus Luzardo, so that could really give them a good picture for the future. The Red Sox send their top pitching prospect in Wickelman Gonzalez, along with a couple of good bats in their system like Nick York and Chase Majoff. So, maybe, I'm not saying this has to be it. There's always different ways you can do it. But maybe you could involve the Marlins somehow, because the Red Sox, they do like Jesus Luzardo. They do. I have been told that, and that's been in the news this offseason. So there is still interest there. Now, does that happen? I don't know. Canyon Price, $9.99. Thoughts on the Rangers' top 10 prospects? I'm so excited for Wyatt Langford. Oh, my goodness. Thank you for the $10, my friend. I appreciate that. Just taking a quick sidestep to honor that super chat. Evan Carter's a beast. Yeah. Wyatt Langford, I'm so excited for this guy. This dude's going to be just a tank. He's going to be amazing. Sebastian Walcott, he reminds me a lot of Jazz Chisholm in a way. Kind of like that power speed threat, kind of a high energy kind of a player. And Brock Porter definitely has upside. So, yeah, I'm really excited for Langford, man. Absolutely. So, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I appreciate that. But then maybe Jarren Duran, maybe he doesn't go to the Padres, right? John Heyman mentioned that there were some other teams involved, right? If we're thinking of some other teams, right? And again, the Padres, they rank dead last in left field right now. So if you're to kind of go up a little bit, probably no on the Nationals, or maybe you could just do something with the Marlins. So an idea that I came up with is just send Duran to the Marlins. You can take back Aviseo Garcia. That would clear up some of the Marlins outfield spots a little bit. You can put Jarren Duran out in left field. Brian De La Cruz can move more to that DH kind of spot, and you could do some platoons there a little bit. All right, so then you could send back again Nick York, Wickelman Gonzalez, and Luis Perales. So maybe the Marlins and the Red Sox could come together for Jarren Duran. Either way, it's going to be really interesting because I think the Red Sox now. I think Kenley Jansen is going to get moved. I just have this gut feeling that he's going to be moved because it also just feels like, too, it's just going to be so awkward if he comes into camp. You know what I mean? Like, he's been heavily in the rumor mill, and if he just comes into camp, I feel like it's just going to be a distraction, right? Reporters are going to be asking him, like, hey, man, what do you think of all these trade rumors, right? So I personally think the Red Sox are going to get him moved. I'm just saying. So that's what I think. We'll have to keep an eye on this for this weekend with Kenley Jansen. Jarren Duran, I think there is a little bit more time there because right position players don't have to report until a little bit later. So there still could be some time there. I do think this is all connected with Jordan Montgomery, though. I do. Especially Jansen, right? The salary, moving him. Say what you will about the Red Sox ownership and the budget. It is what it is. I'm tired of talking about it. But those things I think are connected. If they can move Jansen, I think there's a really good shot of Jordan Montgomery. I'll say this right now. If the Red Sox had both Jordan Montgomery and Jesus Luzardo in this rotation by spring training, oh my God, I will do cartwheels outside and I will laugh at all of the Red Sox fans out there that have been just so negative this offseason. Oh, my goodness. It would be the best. It would be amazing. Anyway, enough with Giraffe Neck Robbie. Let's move on to some other players here. Michael Bradigan, how you doing? $4.99. Why does it feel like Zach Wheeler has become underrated? I know, right? I know. I sort of I feel you on that in a way, right? Because I think a lot of people, they only look at that ERA and they think, okay, like a 3.6 ERA. Well, okay, pretty good, right? But when you go look at the other stuff, the advanced numbers, right? Oh, so much better. But Wheeler, I think this guy's gonna get a fat contract next offseason. But I do agree with you that he has become underrated. When I did my top 50 players, I actually thought about putting Wheeler ahead of Garrett Cole a little bit. I thought that just would have looked weird, but I think there's an argument where Zach Wheeler, if you put him on a better defensive team, I wonder how good Zach Wheeler's numbers would look. I don't know. Is that a hot take? That might be a bit of a hot take. I'm not saying. I think I'd rather. I don't know. I feel like there could be two sides to this. I feel like people could go Zach Wheeler, or I think people could go with Garrett Cole. All right. I would go with Cole personally. I don't know why. It's like a feel thing. If that makes sense. I don't know. I love Wheeler, right? This guy's going to get paid really well next offseason, especially with, I'm not saying he's Jacob deGrom, but we saw deGrom get a fat contract at, 34 years old. Wheeler, I believe, is going to be right around that age too. So anyway, let's move on here. Let's move on. Thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that. But really quick, before I do get to the updates on the other players, I do just want to shout out tonight's sponsor, our friends over at BetUS. Everyone, it's the Super Bowl this weekend. And that's another reason why I think we could see some moves tomorrow, because I don't think teams want to overshadow the Super Bowl. I think that's always been kind of a thing. So, or they don't want to get into the news because it's all about the Super Bowl, right? Anyway, but Super Bowl is on Sunday. And you absolutely got to go over to BetUS right now and go drop some bets, right? And right now, on your first 3 deposits, you get a 125% bonus. I can't even tell you how good of a deal that is, because usually it's just your first bonus or your first deposit that gets a bonus, right? They're doing the first 3. That's really good. So if you end up doing 3 deposits, you're getting an extra 75% on whatever you deposit. That's not bad, if you ask me. There's a whole ton of different ways, right? You even got some last-minute bets for tonight, for crying out loud, right? Baseball, all of the futures bets are live right now. You can go drop some stuff on there. There's a whole ton of different sports that you can go play with. But, of course, the big one is the Super Bowl. You don't want to miss out, obviously, once a year. So here is your chance to go win yourself some bucks. As of right now, I believe they are giving the 49ers the edge. I think that's what they said. I don't know. Maybe it's changing. But go check it out. Go see for yourself. But as always, please play responsibly. That is the most important thing at the end of the day. All righty, let's get to it here, everyone. Let's get to it here. So we have some other players to talk about. I know it's not just all about my Red Sox here. But we got a little Blake Snell in the news, right? Blake Snell, Cy Young winner. I just came out with a video yesterday talking about maybe some potential surprising landing spots. And one fun one I came up with in my head was the Milwaukee Brewers, just because they got Gary Sanchez. So I thought that would have been I thought that would be really entertaining if that ends up happening. Probably not going to happen, but who knows, man? Could you imagine if that was the Brewers' plan, this whole time? Trade Corbin Burns, get a couple of prospects, think, okay, we don't got to pay the big, contract for Corbin Burns. Maybe we can get Snell on a few years, all right? Maybe we could do that, all right? So you ended up replacing your former Cy Young winner and ace with last year's Cy Young winner, who would be your new ace. He's with Gary Sanchez. You got some prospects out of Burns. What a master class that would be. It won't happen, though, I think, because it's not very often the Brewers just drop mega cash like that. Anyway, but it is surprising that Blake Snell is still on this market, to be completely honest. But in a way, it's kind of not surprising because you got Scott Boras. Well, talking about Blake Snell in his article, Jon Heyman did say that teams are still keeping in touch with Blake Snell. Where is it? This is why I need a new computer, because like these sites, like they refresh and it's like, and everything's like slow and I just lose my spot. Here we go. The Angels are staying in touch on Blake Snell as well as Jordan Montgomery and Bellinger. I'd have a hard time. I don't know why. I just feel like Snell, who is more of like that West Coast kind of guy, I don't know. I don't know if I see Montgomery going all the way out west. That's just me. But they like Snell, but team owner Artie Moreno, who seriously needs to freaking leave, hasn't given the go-ahead. If you've noticed over the years, right, the Angels, they like to sign the position players that are free agents, right? Anthony Rendon, Albert Pujols, right, just to name a few. They don't really ever go after the pitchers so much. I believe the last pitcher that they signed to a bigger contract was C.J. Wilson, and that didn't work out. So, however, Blake Snell is not C.J. Wilson, if you ask me. I don't know. But they are staying in touch with him. I still think overall it's the best fit for Blake Snell when I really think about everything at the end of the day. I mean, I would love the Brewers. That's not going to happen, though. But the Angels, to me, make a ton of sense for him. They make all the sense in the world. We saw the Yankees. I would imagine the Yankees are out of it. I still see people out there still trying to connect Blake Snell with the Yankees. I just don't see it happening, right? I think they went for it. He turned them down. Turned down, what was it, $25 million per year? Which, according to his projected contract on baseball trade values, you know, it's not unreasonable that he turned it down, because he should get himself a pretty decent contract next year. I don't know about like $30 million. If he did like a 3-year deal, I could see that $30 million AAV. But I don't know. I see him more like in that 28 to 29 range, like maybe 27, depending on the years. But the Yankees, you know, they tried doing 25 per year over 6, and he said no. So haven't really heard a whole lot else when it comes to Blake Snell. This is why I wonder, the longer these guys stay on the market, could other teams maybe jump in the mix, right? Maybe once that asking price starts to come down more and more and more and more, maybe some teams could really jump into the mix, right? And in my opinion, I just think they make all the sense, right, for the Angels, right? And maybe this is what the Angels are doing. Maybe the Angels are just trying to wait them out a little bit. Maybe Artie Moreno is thinking, you know, hey, as you know, as annoyed Angels fans are with Artie Moreno over the years, who knows? Maybe that could be what he's doing, just waiting for the years to come down a little bit. Maybe they can get him on like a 3-4 year deal maybe. And who knows? But they definitely could use something in this rotation to replace Shohei Ohtani. You'd have a lot of lefties in that rotation at this point. But to me, I think if you're going into the season with Reed Detmers, I don't know. To me, I just thought in my head, like, man, if you're the Angels, like, you should have just cleared house, man. Like, Ohtani's gone, just clear house, trade Trout, trade Rendon. Even though those are very underwater contracts, those would have been very hard to move. I don't know. To me, I think just going into a rebuild would have been the best way. But then again, what do I know? But they need a pitcher, and if they're going to compete, I just don't think Reed Detmers is the guy to be your ace, right? The bullpen's a little better with Stevenson and Moore. You know, you added a couple other pieces in here, like Cisnero. So, I don't know. I just think you need something else for this rotation. It will continue to be the best fit. Remember, we just read earlier that the Astros could be looking for some pitching. Maybe the Astros go after Blake Snell. You know? I mean, that would definitely just ram their payroll just so much higher. I believe they're already above 250 now that they've signed Jose Altuve. That would be a massive payroll. But who knows? Maybe the Astros go for it. All right. Phillies, I mean, it seems like that's not really someone they're going after. I think for the Phillies, you already have your two guys at the top. Snell doesn't really fit into that rotation, in my opinion. Someone like Montgomery fits more for them because he's a great number 3. Montgomery, in my opinion, is like a good 2, maybe like an okay 1. Montgomery is an okay 1, a good 2, and a great 3, right? That's how I see Montgomery, like a 2.5 kind of a guy, if that makes sense, right? I think you can make the argument, too, that he's a very good number 2. So that's the kind of guy I see for the Astros, also with Snell. But when it comes to the I just went completely blank. My brain just went full potato mode. I don't know what the heck just happened to my brain. What was I saying? Wow. I need to go to bed. Anyway, Montgomery, I could see that personally for the Astros. Snell, yeah. Astros too. Who knows? But it depends on what the Astros are willing to spend. So, I don't know, man. Like the Cubs, I predicted Snell with the Cubs in the beginning of the offseason. I thought that would be a great fit. I think you could put him alongside Justin Steele. I don't know. I feel like Montgomery, doesn't make I could see it with the Cubs, but I feel like they need something more at the top while they have these other guys like Tyone and Imanaga, right, that are more in that middle of the back end to the rotation, right? Hendricks as well. So, like, Snell, I think, fits more with the Cubs. I don't know, man. There's just not a whole lot. Maybe the Orioles, maybe they just keep on just adding to that rotation. I don't see that, right? You just got Burns. But I'm just trying to think of some teams. The Mariners, yeah, I'm never going to count out the Mariners for Blake Snell because that's somewhere he wants to go, but I know they already added the bat in Jorge Polanco, but I don't know. Maybe you can still add Snell, trade one of the younger guys, get some prospects, but I don't know. Mariners fans don't seem to like that idea, but I don't know, man. At the end of the day, I just think the Angels make the most sense for Blake Snell. They need an ace. They need a guy. The Phillies, I don't see Snell working in there. Montgomery, I see being more of a fit because Nola, right? Wheeler, they're at the top. Montgomery kind of slots in behind them. So Snell doesn't really go with that. I don't know. That's just me. That's just what I'm thinking here. So as for Cody Bellinger is going to get really interesting to me. It's like I've been thinking for a while. For the first part of the offseason, I thought Giants, absolutely Giants. And then they just said, nah, this guy's looking for too much money. We're just going to go Jung-Hoo Lee, right? And then they're thinking, okay, we'll add a power bat somewhere else, right? Jung-Hoo Lee will give them that spark at the top of the lineup, bring that energy there. And remember, they were going after Rhys Hoskins, right? So it's no surprise that they've also been connected with Jorge Soler. So they're looking for that power bat. So that's where I saw like the Cody Bellinger stuff in the beginning because he brought you that productive bat where instead they just thought, you know what? Let's add Jung-Hoo Lee and let's see if we could add another right-handed bat, right? So they're kind of they're attacking it in multiple ways instead of just going for Bellinger. So with Bellinger, for a while everyone's been thinking, okay, well the Cubs, they make all the sense, right? Don't fix what's not broke. He had a great season with them last year. Why go elsewhere? But the Cubs, you got to remember, they got Peter Crow Armstrong coming. Very high on that guy. I think they would love to have Bellinger back, but I think they want him back at the right price. I don't think they want to they're not going to overpay for him, so they're just going to sit back and wait, just like the Twins did with Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa literally went to 2 different teams and then eventually found his way back with the Twins. So the Cubs, I think they're just sitting back and they're thinking, I mean, listen, we'll figure out center field. Peter's going to be ready here eventually. We don't necessarily need to bring back Cody Bellinger. Will he make us better, especially in the short term? Yeah, but they don't really, in my opinion, I don't think they really need to be in a spot where they have to do it. They will if the price is right, right? Haven't watched that show in a while. But Cody Bellinger, the more I wonder, and I'm going to get back to the Phillies here a little bit. I've had some people comment on my video that I put yesterday about surprising landing spots. And I put the Phillies for Cody Bellinger because John Heyman had mentioned them as a sleeper. Now, I mentioned in that video, and I mentioned it on some streams earlier in the week after that report came out, that I think that was last Sunday, where I think Jordan Montgomery makes more sense for the Phillies if they were to spend money because it shores up that rotation. But I've had some people comment saying, hey, Robbie, remember, they didn't get a whole lot of production out of center field last postseason. So, and then I was like, yeah. And I've been saying, too, it feels like Dave Dombrowski's very lukewarm on Johan Rojas. It doesn't seem like he's just flat out saying, like, yeah, Johan's our guy. We got trust in him. We believe in that guy. He's going to be great. He hasn't really said that, right? He's been more kind of wishy-washy about it, like saying, like, yeah, we like Rojas, but he's kind of also said he still has some things to work on, basically. So I wonder if they could add Bellinger to this lineup. I wonder, because, man, this lineup would be stacked. And I mentioned it earlier, right? That in the postseason, their offense went a little cold at times. The pitching wasn't necessarily the problem so much, right? They had a couple of bullpen issues, but the offense also had a couple issues as well. If you added Bellinger here, right, that, I think, would be really good. And another thing, too, is Bellinger can play some first base. Harper is going to be playing more first base this year, but if you needed, if Schwarber maybe needed a day or something and Harper needed to DH a little bit, right, you can move Bellinger to first. Schwarber gets off his feet a little bit. So you could make that work. You could, right? So I won't completely count that out. As for other teams, right, still got the Blue Jays out there. And I know they brought back Kevin Kiermaier for center field, but I don't know, man. Like, you brought in Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, but I don't know. Like, to me, if I'm picking between Bellinger and Kiermaier, I mean, I'm going Bellinger all day. Like, I like Kevin Kiermaier, but I don't know, man. I just feel like Bellinger is more of that bat. And if you look at the top here, you could still use a bopper here. You could have Bellinger, bat, I don't know, who could you bat to number 2? Maybe you could have Bellinger bat second, or just keep Bichette in the 2 hole. Vlad can be number 4 and Bellinger can be 3rd, right? So kind of breaks up the righties at the top. So I don't know, I wouldn't fully count out the Blue Jays. It seems very unlikely. Maybe they have been connected with him. So I don't know. It's going to get really interesting. My thought process is Bellinger still finds a way to end back up with the Chicago Cubs. Just feels right. But then again, I won't be surprised at some of these other options, right? Let's talk about Max Chapman. Now, Max Chapman is going to have to wait until Bellinger signs because there's implications there. If Cody Bellinger does not go back to the Cubs, I am telling you right now, and I thought about this so much in my free agent predictions. I just thought, man, Max Chapman almost just feels like a Cub. I predicted him for the Giants. I think he makes a ton of sense for the Giants, right? Bob Melvin, obviously, got that connection there. And actually, he did talk about Max Chapman here, saying the Giants are in touch on Max Chapman, and though manager Bob Melvin would love him, it isn't known how close things are. this is kind of the gut feeling I'm getting. They went after Hoskins. Then they've been connected with Jorge Soler. So seems like they're looking more for offense, right? Instead of just going gun-ho for Max Chapman. So I wonder if maybe Max Chapman is at like the bottom, right? If they don't get Soler, they didn't get Hoskins now. So if they don't land Soler, maybe they turn to Max Chapman. That's the way I see it, right? Right-handed bat. I think Soler is number one for them right now. I think Hoskins was number one for them before, and then it was Soler, and then Chapman, right? But if the Cubs don't bring back Cody Bellinger, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for the Cubs to land Chapman. This, and I've said this is going to be like the millionth time I've said this. This infield would be absolutely nasty. And listen, I think you can make a case for the Cubs to put together a good infield here, because if you look at these pictures that they have, like Justin Steele, he's got some good stuff, right? I think those strikeout numbers can bump up a little bit. But if you look, these are guys that are going to be a bit more contact-oriented. There's not really a whole lot of strikeout pictures here. Like Imanaga, I think will rack up some Ks. But Imanaga, I don't see being like an 11 strikeout per 9 kind of a guy. I see like maybe Imanaga being like in the 8 to 9 per 9 range. So getting, more contact, right? So to me, if you're bringing in Chapman, this infield is nasty. Left side is locked down with Chapman and Swanson. And then you got Nico Horner at second base. That's insane. And then you got Michael Busch, who's a utility kind of a guy, where he's pretty mobile. He'll be fine at first. This infield defense would be nasty with the Cubs. And with this pitching staff, that's really good. I think Chapman, I really do. I think if Bellinger does not go back to the Cubs, and I think there's a very good chance Chapman goes to the Cubs. I really do. One other team, I should have mentioned this on the video that I posted yesterday. Should have mentioned this. Why not the Tigers for Max Chapman? I had someone comment. I don't remember who commented it, and I apologize. I should have made sure to get the name. Whoever that was. I'm just saying here, the Tigers, A.J. Hinch, he talked about third base not too long ago, and he kind of mentioned how they have a bit of a rotation going on right now, right, for third base. You got McKinstry there. You got a couple other guys that can move around and play there, right? Keith, Carpenter. You got some options, and then as well as Matt Vierling, right? So you do have some options. So actually, I don't think I meant to say Carpenter. I think I meant to say Matt Vierling. Did Carpenter play any third last year? No, he was just outfield. I'm thinking Matt Vierling. I'm sorry. So yeah, no, Vierling. You got McKinstry. Colt Keith can play there a little bit too. So it looks like they're doing a rotation at third, right? That's basically what Hinch was saying. But if they wanted to go for more of that solidified option at third base, I mean, say what you will about Javier Baez, but the defense is great with him. And if you had those two on the left side of the infield, Chapman and Baez, I think that's really good. I think that's really good, right? So, I don't know. I don't see this one necessarily, but I wouldn't count it out completely. They have made a couple of moves that I've liked, Flaherty and Maeda bringing in some veterans, but hey, maybe they bring in one more veteran guy in Max Chapman with all this youth that they have with Riley Green and Torkelson and now Colt Keith coming up. You brought in Mark Canha as well. And you'd have a really good mix of youth and veteran on this squad. And I think that really helps out the Detroit Tigers, to be completely honest with you. So I wouldn't count out the Tigers for Max Chapman necessarily, completely, right? We had some other news. Like I said, Clayton Kershaw, going back to the Dodgers. I completely missed this the other day. I didn't miss it, but I just forgot to even mention it. Probably more so because I just completely expected it to happen. I had mentioned maybe the Rangers could be an option, because the Dodgers have been just adding so many pieces. But Kershaw, I think this is actually good. because he's probably he's basically going to be rehabbing the first half of the year. I think that's going to be better for him overall. This is a guy, body's run down, man. I think you'll have him for the second half. You're going to have some injuries pop up, and the Dodgers, man, just gives them that much more depth, right? Clayton Kershaw, don't see him go. This was the last chance I gave Clayton Kershaw to go to the Rangers. It's definitely not happening at this point. And then Jonathan India agreeing to a 2-year deal with the Reds. And, it's funny because a lot of people were speculating that maybe the Reds could sign him, or not sign him, trade him, because they had a lot of infielders, right? But India, the one thing I've seen Reds fans say constantly is how good he is for the clubhouse, right? Just such a good energy guy for them. And I've always been a fan of those players that bring that chemistry part to the team, right? They bring those intangibles. And sure, India may not have, it's been a couple of years since that really good Rookie of the Year season, but his numbers are starting to trickle up a little bit. I think India ends up having himself a solid year with the Reds this coming year, so they're just going to have to move guys around. At the end of the day, India, I see this Reds team being really good this year, and I think India, it's going to be a big part of this team. He's that glue kind of a guy. So I like this. I like the Reds getting him locked up. So, but everyone, I think that's all I have for tonight. Just kind of wanted to run through all the updates that we got over the last couple of days. I know I didn't go live really the last couple of nights. That's why I came out with a couple of videos instead. So if something happens tomorrow, I wonder if something could happen tomorrow because we have the Super Bowl on Sunday. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like teams don't really want to maybe during the day they could announce something. I don't know. I just feel like it's out of respect for the NFL. I feel like they probably hold off on, I don't know. Has that happened before? Has anything been announced on a Super Bowl Sunday before? I'm sure there has, but any big deals? That'd be great if someone could find that for me. I'm going to try and look myself. And if you find something, just comment it on the stream after we are finished here. But I wonder if we could see some deals tomorrow. If that is the case, if they don't want to intrude on Super Bowl Sunday, then maybe we could see some action tomorrow. So if we are, then I will be here. I will be ready to go live tomorrow if anything does happen. Sunday night, everyone, I don't know if I'm going to go live because everyone's going to be watching the Super Bowl. So, yeah, last time I checked, this is not a football channel. So go watch Tom Grossi, though. Just got Fan of the Year, if you're into the YouTube channels out there. Now, Tom Grossi, big inspiration for me, right? Just got awarded Fan of the Year by the NFL. Awesome. Congratulations to him. That is just fantastic. He does amazing stuff on his channel. But if you do want to tune in to a stream for the Super Bowl, I highly recommend Tom Grossi. He's amazing. But everyone, thank you for stopping by tonight. We definitely had a few things to talk about. I know I got into my Red Sox quite a bit. Just try to break that down as best as I could. But everyone, if there is anything tomorrow, I will be live. If there is nothing, probably not going live on Sunday night because I would imagine there's going to be nothing to talk about anyway. So if I'm not here tomorrow, Sunday, most likely we'll see you Monday. And Monday, that's definitely going to be pretty juicy because we'll probably have rumors all throughout the weekend, even if we don't have anything break. So, everyone, if we do have something tomorrow, I'll be here. But until then, everyone, have a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.